Good morning, everybody. We're still in this series we're going through in our devotional time through Keys to Victorious Christian Living. And I want to be clear, and you probably understood this at this point by now, but Keys to Victorious Christian Living does not mean keys to easy, safe, comfortable Christian living. Those are not the same. These are keys to powerful Christian living, but they are difficult. They demand concentration. They demand devotion. They demand sacrifice. And we talked about a few steps already. The first one was pursue the glory of God alone. That first and foremost, we concentrate on honoring Him, and He will always be faithful to us. The second is plan for God to be faithful. In other words, act in anticipation to God's faithfulness, not in reaction to God's faithfulness. Don't wait for God to be faithful before you act. Act and anticipate that God will be faithful. And the third one was persevere through obstacles. No worthwhile victory has ever been achieved by quitting halfway. It's not easy. Victory has its cost, and it takes time. And in order to get through it, we have to persevere to the end. So, as you see, they all start with the letter P, and the fourth step is purify yourselves. Purity. In Webster, there are two definitions for purity. The first one is the most familiar. It means unmixed with any other matter or substance. In other words, gold or silver are refined until there is nothing left except the most precious of material. Until they are pure, there's nothing left. This purity increases value and beauty and makes for something very well defined and focused. But there's a second definition, and I think that definition applies to my thoughts today. And that definition is containing nothing that weakens or pollutes, nothing that does not belong. Purity is necessary in order for something to be suitable for a function to which it is going to be used. Certain metals and chemicals, if they are not pure, well, they will not react properly, or they will not do the job that they are meant to do. They will fall apart when they are put to use. The presence of impurity diminishes integrity and can be dangerous. A drug addict may not care about purity. He may use a needle that is contaminated and impure, and as a result, he may end up getting sick, even dying. But if you were building a home, if you were building a structure, and you were choosing the support material for the beams that were going to go into that building, would you choose something of a purity level less than what was required for them to bear the weight that they were supposed to bear? Of course not, because the chances are they wouldn't hold up. By this definition, purity is necessary for strength. It's necessary to complete the job. Without purity, the material being used will not have the integrity it needs for us to count on it. There are things that do not belong, pollutants that are harmful and create potentially fatal imperfections. Well, having said all that, we have to realize that we are the building material with which God is building His church. We are the bricks and mortar, the beams and the structures that God is putting together to build His beautiful temple that is growing in this world. So the purity of this material of Christ's church is crucial if we're going to do the work of Christ's church, if we are going to stand up and be strong. So the next few weeks, we're going to look and see how this issue of purity became pivotal for Nehemiah's success in God's work and how it can be critical in our lives. So I'm going to read Nehemiah 5, verses 6 through 13. He says, "When I heard their outcry at these charges," Nehemiah was hearing a complaint from some of the poor people in his community. He said, "I was very angry, and I pondered them in my mind, and then accused the nobles and officials. I told them, 'You are charging your own people interest.' So I called together a large meeting to deal with them, and I said, 'As far as possible, we have brought back our fellow Jews who were sold to the Gentiles. Now, you are selling your own people, only for them to be sold back to us.' And they kept quiet, because they could find nothing to say." All right, so Nehemiah had worked hard. He's succeeding, and he's He's seeing that things are slowing down, that things aren't going right, and people are starting to complain, and things aren't happening the way it's supposed to. And he realizes that there's a deeper problem, that there's a sin that needs to be resolved, there's a pollution, there's an impurity that needs to be dealt with. Now, we're going to explore the nature of that problem next week. I'm going to talk a little more about specifically what that problem was next time. But today, what I want you to do simply is understand what Nehemiah did. That he actually took the time to consider, recognize, and see the problem that was there. So as you go into your time of meditation, I want you to explore your heart. I want you to explore for and search for impurities within you. While you're seeking God's honor, what are the habits? What are the patterns? What is the speech? What is the thoughts? What are the attitudes that maybe do not belong? The things that while you're trying to do good work over here, these things are siphoning off your spiritual energy because you're allowing these impurities into your life. I want you to try to identify them, set them apart, see if you can recognize them. And I believe that once you do that, then like the psalmist, you can pray and offer them up to God and say, Lord, create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. The more we can do that, the more we can weed out these impurities, the more we will see God giving us victory in our spiritual lives. God bless you. Have a great day today.